I really got a terrible daughter-in-law, didn't I? That girl is useless, so there's no hope. When I left work early and entered the house, I could hear my mother-in-law's voice from the living room. I instinctively lowered my breath and listened carefully. I'm getting a huge inheritance, you know. Since I'm receiving it, there's no need to be stingy, right? After all, I'm doing most of the housework, you know. I even ironed that girl's shirts for her. Well, I have to admit, I'm doing it to spend her inheritance. But still, I'm doing it. It seems like she's talking about me. My mother-in-law is talking about me. But I'm taken aback by her tone. My usual mother-in-law is very kind and considerate, even taking the initiative with household chores. I've never heard her speak like this before. Calling me a bad daughter-in-law or useless? Was my mother-in-law always like this? And talking about an inheritance? Could she be referring to that thing I inherited from my aunt? I quietly approached the living room, concealing my footsteps and presence. If she didn't have an inheritance, that girl, I wouldn't have accepted her as a daughter-in-law. She's plain and uninteresting. She's the kind of daughter-in-law you can't brag about to the neighbors. It's all for the sake of money, isn't it? Endurance, it's all about endurance. During all this time, my mother-in-law had been constantly making derogatory comments about me. I wonder who she's talking to. I discreetly peeked inside and saw the person she was talking to. I gasped in surprise. And my mother-in-law, with a smirk on her face, said, "That's right," and clapped her hands. She passed away, leaving an inheritance for that girl. She was her niece, you see. But the truth is... I felt like screaming as my mother-in-law spoke, but I quickly covered my mouth. No way. Can that really be? My name is Arya. I'm a 28-year-old housewife. I met my husband Luke through a coworker's invitation to a group date. We got to know each other at the mixer, and we hit it off, starting a relationship. I lost my parents in an accident when I was young, and my father's sister, Caroline, raised me. Even though Aunt Caroline had gone through a divorce when she was young, she became a successful businesswoman and raised me with strict yet loving care. She put me through college, and when I received my first paycheck as a working adult, I treated her to a meal as a token of my gratitude. Around that time, Aunt Caroline was diagnosed with cancer. When we found out, it had already spread throughout her body, and there was nothing that could be done. She was given a short time to live. Aunt Caroline probably had a sense of what was coming. She entrusted her company to a trusted colleague, and there were no major disputes. Last year, Aunt Caroline passed away, and many people, including her employees and the company's legal counsel, attended her funeral. Arya, are you okay? Take a break for a bit. Luke, thank you. I had lost my only family member and was feeling worn out and down, but the one who encouraged me was my boyfriend at the time, who would later become my husband. He continued to support me, and he has been there for me ever since. Luke is truly kind. I want to spend the rest of my life with him. Afterward, he proposed to me, and I decided to get married. When we went to his house for the marriage proposal, my mother-in-law warmly welcomed me. If you, Arya, are willing to join our family, I would be very happy. She said it with joy and served tea. I had met my mother-in-law a few times before, and she had even visited our home when we were living together. However, I had never discussed my family before. So at this moment, I opened up and told her that both my parents had passed away, and my aunt, who had raised me, had also passed away last year. But my mother-in-law, without making a single unpleasant face, said, "It must have been tough," and she teared up as she comforted me. I felt relieved by her kindness. She was such a caring mother-in-law. So, Arya, my mom has been divorced for a while now. Since I became a working adult, she's been living alone. But last month, she had a fall and injured her leg, and I started worrying about her age. Arya, if it's okay with you, would you be willing to live with my mom after we get married? His proposal gave me a moment of hesitation. I had wanted to enjoy our newlywed life together, just the two of us. I wondered if I could manage living with my in-law. I'll take care of the household chores. Arya, it's okay for you to continue working, all right? I had wanted to keep working, so her offer was appreciated. Besides, my mother-in-law was a very kind and helpful person. I thought we might be able to make it work. With that in mind, I agreed to living together. And so the three of us started living together. Both my husband and I had busy jobs, but my mother-in-law graciously took care of the household tasks. She even prepared dinner for us before we got home, and I couldn't stop feeling grateful. We had been living like this for a while, but recently I started feeling that our place was too cramped. When we discussed our future, the idea of a slightly larger house came up. That's when we began considering moving to a new home. However, every time we discussed house options, my husband and mother-in-law started making demands for more upscale preferences. Thinking about having children in the future, it's better to have more rooms, right? And the living room should be spacious too.
In that case, considering Mom's future and to prevent further injuries, wouldn't it be better to have a barrier-free design? If we do that, the house should be reasonably spacious inside as well.
I'd also like to have a pantry, and maybe a kitchen with a counter. My mother-in-law and husband were enthusiastically making suggestions about the house. It seemed like the cost might be higher than I had initially thought. We do have some inheritance from my aunt, so we could cover it to some extent, but as I pondered this, my mother-in-law let out a somewhat troubled voice. Recently, there has been an increase in foreigners, and the security isn't great. Around here, the security is good and it's safe, isn't it? The location she pointed out on the map was a high-end residential area. I cautiously suggested that this might be a bit difficult, but my suggestion was met with a shake of the head. My mother-in-law expressed concern that if we had children and lived in an area with poor security, they wouldn't be able to play outside and it would be tough for them. She mentioned that I also had late work days, so it would be best to be in a safe place. She emphasized that she was thinking about my well-being, and my husband agreed with her.
I want to protect my family. Let's move to a place where we can feel even a little safer.
And so I was somewhat forcefully persuaded, and we ended up choosing a considerably expensive property. Then one day, I was feeling under the weather with a slight cold. Despite that, I had work that needed to be done, so I went to the office on a holiday. However, my fever started to rise around midday, and I began feeling dizzy, so I decided to leave work early. When I arrived home and opened the front door, I could hear my mother-in-law's voice coming from the living room. I really got a terrible daughter-in-law, didn't I? She's absolutely useless. I couldn't believe my ears at the words I was hearing. I instinctively held my breath at the entrance and strained to listen. I mean, she's inherited a huge inheritance, so couldn't she be a bit more generous with the new house? There's no need to be so stingy. I do most of the household chores, you know. I even iron that girl's shirts. But even though I say that, I'm enduring it, all for the sake of using that child's inheritance. That girl apparently means me. My mother-in-law was indeed talking about me, but her words left me in shock. My mother-in-law is usually very kind and considerate, and she would even take the lead in doing household chores. This was the first time I had heard her speak in such a tone. Calling me a terrible daughter-in-law or useless? Was this really the same person I knew as my mother-in-law? And the mention of inheritance, was she referring to the inheritance I received from my aunt? Carefully concealing my footsteps and presence, I quietly approached the living room. If she didn't have an inheritance, she wouldn't have become my daughter-in-law. She's plain, uninteresting, and not someone you can boast about in the neighborhood. But it's all for the sake of money, right? Endurance. It's all about endurance. During this time, my mother-in-law had been continuously making derogatory remarks about me. I wondered who she was talking to. I discreetly peeked inside and was taken aback when I saw who she was talking to. It was my husband.
Don't worry, Mom. Ariel's aunt seemed to be quite wealthy, and it won't be long before we buy a house in an upscale neighborhood using the inheritance. Then after a while, we can just kick her out.
My husband chuckled. It seemed like the two of them were plotting to manipulate me into using the inheritance. I never expected my husband to entertain such a cruel idea. Then my mother-in-law grinned, and then gave her approval with a triumphant gesture. She left an inheritance for that child. She was her aunt, but she went by the name Caroline. Actually, she was my classmate. Upon hearing this, I was so surprised that I almost screamed. I quickly covered my mouth with both hands. I couldn't believe that there was a connection between my mother-in-law and my aunt, so it was a shocking revelation. According to my mother-in-law, my aunt was a studious type, while my mother-in-law was considered a prima donna. But Caroline was the class representative and always nagging me. She used to say things like, "Throw your trash in the bin," and "Don't bully Claire," even though she was a plain studious type. She was so cheeky I really disliked her. But I was popular, and I thought Caroline would live a plain life in the shadows forever. And yet, my mother-in-law bit her lip with a look of frustration. 20 years ago, she had met my aunt at a class reunion. Back then, my aunt was a quiet, studious person, but she had transformed into a successful businesswoman. Seeing how everyone praised and admired her, my mother-in-law couldn't help but feel envious. Despite both of them being divorced, she couldn't help but feel so frustrated by the stark contrast, and was overwhelmed with embarrassment and regret. She had been harboring jealousy towards my aunt for a long time. It was during this period that my husband brought me to meet her. She thought I looked somewhat like my aunt since we had the same last name. She didn't think it was possible, so she probed her classmates. However, before they could meet in person, my aunt passed away. It seems my mother-in-law had concocted a scheme to exploit the inheritance, using the lie about her injury and my sympathy to gain an advantage.
I'm glad you noticed the inheritance, Mom. Without it, I might not have married Arya.
Right? When you two were living together, there was a time when I went to your room. I secretly checked Arya's bank statement. That's when I saw a substantial amount of inheritance had been deposited. As I watched the two of them laughing together, I was shocked. But gradually, a simmering anger welled up within me. So both of them were after my inheritance, huh? All the kindness, the marriage, and even taking care of the household chores? It was all just to use up my inheritance. I can't forgive them anymore. Just you wait. I'll pay you back double. No, I'll pay you back double. The next day, I said to them with a smile, I found the perfect place for both of you. I've already paid the down payment. When I conveyed this to my mother-in-law and husband, they were overjoyed, exclaiming, "It's a house in an upscale residential area." On moving day, I had to go to work in the morning due to job commitments, so I was out only in the morning. When I returned, all my belongings had been dumped in the trash area. Inside the house, the keys to the new home, the expensive furniture, my husband and mother-in-law's things, everything was gone. There was nothing left except a divorce certificate placed on the floor, as if to say, "You're no longer needed." I called my husband. "What is going on here?"
We have a new home now, so you're no longer needed.
When my husband answered the phone and heard my voice, he started laughing. Then he handed the phone to my mother-in-law. "I'm sorry, Arya. I originally hated you because you looked so much like Caroline. The house has already been sold, so if you don't want to get caught for trespassing, you'd better leave right now." But, shocked, I was about to say something, but my mother-in-law, looking satisfied, hung up the phone while laughing. "Well, I guess I should leave quickly," I muttered to myself and turned off my smartphone. The next day, when I turned my smartphone back on, I was surprised to see a huge number of missed calls. As soon as I powered it up, another call came in. It was from my husband.
Why aren't you at your parents' house?
Luke's voice sounded tired as he spoke. "You said you sold that house, didn't you? Have you already forgotten?"
I've been looking for you. What's up with that new place?
My husband was furious and yelling over the phone. In reality, our new home, while in an upscale neighborhood with a standalone house, was the cheapest option in the area. It was an old, run-down house hidden behind high-rise apartments. In the background, I could hear my mother-in-law yelling loudly alongside my husband. "Right? Isn't it the perfect place for you guys?" I couldn't hold back my laughter any longer. Yesterday I had pretended to be shocked, but after hanging up I had a good laugh because my plan had worked. I had actually moved to a luxury apartment that I had prepared in advance. What do you mean, the perfect place? This is ridiculous. When I sneakily checked your bank statement, I saw that $300,000 had disappeared. I thought for sure you had used it for the new house. I overheard my mother-in-law accidentally revealing this behind my husband. Unfortunately, the money that had gone missing wasn't used to buy a house in the upscale neighborhood. It was used to purchase the luxury apartment where I live. So it was all a false alarm, in other words. Oh, by the way, technically that house is my property. The rent will be paid to me as the owner. Well, as long as it can be covered by Luke's monthly salary, though. When I said that, my mother-in-law questioned my husband on the phone about what I meant. In reality, my husband earns less than me monthly. Furthermore, upon further investigation, I found out that he had been receiving a generous amount of child support from his biological father out of goodwill. While the support has stopped after he became an adult, my husband had a habit of spending that money recklessly. It seems he couldn't shake off that habit as he had debts before we got married. He proudly boasted about snagging a high-income wife among his friends, but as my mother-in-law scolded him, I asked my mother-in-law, "Can you, Mom, really criticize others? Isn't the reason for your divorce because of your affair? Luke is not your biological child, right? And didn't your affair partner run away from you?" Upon hearing that, my husband was speechless. My mother-in-law, in a panicked tone, was trying to explain loudly. Over the phone, the two were shouting things like, "Come over here right now. I'll beat you to a pulp. I'll make you suffer." And they were yelling angrily. However, when I informed them through the lawyer that the divorce had been finalized, they went even more berserk, given their bizarre state. It seems that neighbors called the police. Just as I heard the sirens of a police car, I could hear over the phone that the two were being taken away by the police. In the end, the two were released the same day. However, given the income of my ex-husband, he couldn't afford to pay the rent and debts, resulting in them being kicked out of their home. It seems my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law are now living in a small, cheap apartment. And by the way, when I sold the rundown house, I got a better price than I expected because they had turned it into a parking lot. Afterward, my ex-husband, who didn't know my current address, sent a letter to my company. The contents stated, "Since you were a married couple, if you divorce, you should split the assets in half. If it's a debt incurred during the marriage, Area also has an obligation to repay it," and so on. What is this person saying, I wonder? Well, never mind, let's leave it to the lawyer. I used to be the legal advisor for my aunt's company in this matter. I've decided to entrust it to Claire, the lawyer. According to the lawyer who went to meet with both of them, during the discussion my ex-mother-in-law apparently turned pale upon seeing the lawyer. It turns out the lawyer was once a classmate of my ex-mother-in-law who used to harass her. At that time, she weighed 80 kilograms, but now she has slimmed down considerably. Even if she might be unrecognizable as a different person, traces of her former self remained. She used to be a great partner for my aunt as her legal advisor, but it seems my ex-mother-in-law wasn't aware of that. "If you continue to hound Area any further, I will completely crush all of you." The lawyer, while laughing at my ex-mother-in-law and the others, it seems they exerted pressure in a low voice. Premarital debts are not the responsibility of the wife to repay. Furthermore, since the inheritance was acquired before marriage, Luke does not have any rights to it. She firmly asserted this to my ex-husband once again. Furthermore, with regards to my ex-mother-in-law, "Caroline is different from you. She built her wealth through her own efforts, unlike you who deceived her husband and cheated. I'd rather not be associated with you," she said. And my ex-mother-in-law, unable to say anything in response, just hung her head, her face pale. Afterward, my ex-husband found himself drowning in debt and tried desperately to find ways to gather money. It seems he was abandoned even by his friends. He tried to cling to my ex-father-in-law, who had been providing child support, but he coldly pushed him away. It seems he eventually called the police after his persistent attempts. In the end, when he tried to borrow money from a colleague at work, they reported it to the appropriate department, stating that he had been stalking them. Consequently, he ended up resigning voluntarily. It seems he's now living a modest life with his mother, but they apparently argue every day, sometimes prompting neighbors to call the police. Still, due to a lack of money, living together is the only option. Even after selling the things he had indulged in buying all this time, it seems the debt didn't decrease. The two, who couldn't fully let go of the inheritance, came barging into my company, but of course, they were escorted away by the police. Afterwards, it was a relief that a lawyer worked to obtain a restraining order against them approaching me. As for me, after selling the land, I became interested in increasing my wealth and actively studied for it. It seems I inherited a sense similar to my aunt's. After obtaining the financial planner qualifications, I also learned a bit about investments. Since transitioning to a job as an FP, work has been enjoyable. I think it might be okay not to get married for a while.
You look just like Caroline when you're working happily.
Really? That makes me very happy if it's true.
I've never had much self-confidence, but thanks to Caroline's encouragement, I was able to change. I've always been grateful for that.
Claire's face as she spoke showed full confidence. She had worked hard to pave her own way, and in turn, become someone who could inspire confidence in others. I aspire to become someone like my aunt someday.
I'm thinking of giving my folks a spare key to our new pad.
Hold up. What now?
I just figured it'd be cool to have Mom and the crew pop in whenever.
That's a hard no from me.
If that's how you feel, maybe we should just split.
Man, could he be any more high-handed? Alright then. Drew, thinking he'd called my bluff, sported this smug look. But little did he know I was cool with the split, not his crazy key idea. He and his mom were in for quite the surprise. I'm Tammy, clocking in at 36 and working from the comfort of my home. Drew and I have been married for 10 years. Our squad includes Mark, our 9-year-old son. All in all, we've been pretty solid. But real talk, it's a wonder we've hit the 10-year mark. Honestly, sticking it out might have been for our son. I first crossed paths with Drew during a group hangout. Back in the day, he was killing it as a top dog at some big-time company. He had it all, charisma, a fat wallet, and he wasn't too old. Checks all around. He made his move, things clicked, and before we knew it, we were head over heels. Fast forward about 18 months, and boom! Rings and plans to say I do. We met the folks, threw a bash, and jumped into the whole married thing. We were flying high for a year till our little man came along. That's when the storm hit. You mom jitters, right? I tried getting real with Drew, but he goes off script and dials his mom, Lucy. He said,
"She's got your back."
I was just trying to vibe with my hubby, not get the in-law involved. But surprise, Lucy's on deck every single day. Chill, Tammy. I've got the mom thing down. I'll show you the ropes. No thanks. I wanted to wing it myself, but she had comments for days. Nope, that's not it. Listen to me if you want Mark to turn out okay. Honestly, she was a piece of work. Anytime I swerved from her playbook, fireworks, and she's over all the time racking up my grocery bill. She'd raid our kitchen like she owned it. And the clincher? Drew gave her a key. She'd just roll in, no heads up. She scared me to death the first time she popped in. Dealing with Lucy drama was a total newlywed nightmare. I tried having a heart-to-heart with Drew, but Mr. Oblivious just sang praises about his mama. I wanted to talk to you about your mom.
Isn't she great?
He was so not getting it. I broke down Lucy's never-ending critiques, the snack race, and the dent in our wallet.
Are you sure?
She won't listen to anything I say because everything she says and does is the only right way. He flipped.
She's doing us a favor. Can't you be thankful? She raised me right. You should be rolling out the red carpet, even if it means throwing some cash her way.
Whoa, paying her? That never crossed my mind.
You sound so ungrateful. Maybe she needs to set you straight.
What? Oh boy, that backfired. Lucy came back with an even tighter leash. It was like she amped up the mean setting. She'd throw zingers like, "Seriously, with your cheese, I worry for Mark." Why was I putting up with this BS? It was soul-crushing. Divorce was looking real good. But plot twist, Drew got wind of a transfer.
It's a step up for me, but you'd want to keep things status quo, right?
I jumped on that like, "Let's pack."
Are you sure? But you have Mom's help here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've been thinking of diving back into work too.
If that's how you feel.
Moving was best news ever. Must have been a silver lining. I'm lucky enough to have a gig I can rock from home, so it really doesn't matter where we set up shop. This means I can roll with him wherever his job takes him. After that decision, we hit the road and landed in a whole new state. If you guys jet off to another state, who's gonna keep an eye on things? Lucy wasn't thrilled, but inside I was doing a victory dance. No, Lucy, that's a recipe for chill vibes all day. At last, just the three of us, starting fresh, kicking off our new life. It was even better than I'd hoped. Just the sheer joy of no drop-ins from her during the day was a breath of fresh air. I'd drop my little man off at daycare, hustle at my home office, and manage the home front. Heck, I'd even whip up dinner before grabbing him from daycare. Everything's on my clock and I'm the captain of my time. Sweet deal, right? Plus, I get to soak up all the moments with my son. Park strolls, shopping sprees, and just good old quality time. By dinner, Drew's back and it's all about family vibes. This was the dream. The joy I felt now was miles away from the days Lucy would micromanage my every move. If I could toss a wish into the universe, it'd be to stick around here forever. And guess what? The universe listened. For 6 years, no transfer for my man. Our son turned 8, got into swimming, and man, watching him in the pool was pure gold. He's this awesome, kind-hearted little dude with a group of friends. But of course, right when he's loving life, hubby's transfer kicks in. Back to square one, near the in-laws. Ugh. But hey, we roll as a team, so off we went. My boy was bummed about leaving his squad, even had a little send-off bash. 6 years later, we're back and we snagged a rental. True to form, my social butterfly of a son made new friends in no time. Big win. But the dark cloud? Yup, Lucy. I knew she'd be back in the mix before I could blink. And yup, on her first day off, she's at our door, all smiles and cheer. It's like a family reunion. Missed y'all. Was it us she missed or just her favorite pastime, nagging yours truly? Total buzzkill. And yup, she's back to her old routine, popping by on the regular. Lucy, you're making this a habit? Problem? Mark's big now, I'm good on my own. No need for the Lucy watch anymore. So, you're saying I'm like an unwanted guest? Wait till I chat with Drew. So extra. Every time she'd swing by, my whole flow would get thrown off. Work vibes are interrupted, extra chores are piled up, so I put my foot down. Lucy, why the frequent pop-ins? Got nothing going on at your place? She shot me the stink eye. Not your concern. I'm taking time out for you. I didn't ask for it. Seriously? You're gonna backtalk your mother-in-law? Is this a power trip for you? How dare you? You've gotten yourself some attitude in these 6 years, huh? Respect your elders, missy. Then act like an elder worth respecting. The nerve! What a wife you are. She huffed, getting all red. Whip up some lunch? Lunch for you? Why? Well, I'm here, aren't I? Uninvited. You're impossible. Takes one to know one. This isn't working. Then maybe it's time to head out? I would have left even if you hadn't said so. She stormed out, and I got back to my grind. But between our showdown and playing catch-up, the day flew by. Got my work squared away. prepped dinner, and in walks my son. And that night, as predictable as ever, Drew comes home with storm clouds in his eyes.
Hey, Mom told me. She said you gave her the cold shoulder and showed her the door?
Whoa, hold up. She left on her own accord.
No talking back. She was stoked about spending quality time. Why ice her out?
Please, she wasn't here for the cutie. She was game for giving me grief.
Mom's not like that.
Every time there's a showdown with Lucy, he just tunes me out. It's like she can do no wrong in his eyes. He's completely whipped when it comes to her. It's always Team Lucy, never Team us. Just as I'm mulling this over, my son chimes in. You know, I've seen Grandma go all drill sergeant on Mom too. Drew looked like he'd seen a ghost when our son said that. She's constantly on Mom's case and it sucks watching it.
No way, that's legit.
Why would Mark make stuff up? He's spot on. She's always on my case. I finally stood my ground. With our son laying down the truth, his comeback game was weak.
She wouldn't really, was she?
He trailed off, looking lost in thought. Mad props to my boy for speaking up. Saved me a ton of stress. I'm thinking he deserves his favorite goodies next time. A quadruple serving, maybe. Lucy tried to stage another drop-in, but I wasn't having it. Why is the door staying shut? I'm not in the mood for another Lucy interruption. Oh, just hush. Despite her doorbell serenade, I kicked back in my office, cranked up my playlist, and drowned out the outside world. She tried making it a regular thing, but I kept her on the outside, looking in. Seriously? You think ghosting me at the door is cool? You roll up unannounced and act like you own the place. How about tidying up your own digs? Excuse you? Buzz me in. Door-kicking antics commenced. Chill, or I'm dialing 911. What? You're gonna play the cop card? You're the one channeling your inner soccer hooligan on my door. You're giving me the silent treatment. It's called setting boundaries. But I'm family. Yeah, but boundaries exist even with family members. To me, you might as well be a door-to-door salesperson. Keep it up and I'll really call the police. All right. Message received, I'm out. And with that, she bounced. Sure enough, hubby was all kinds of salty later, but once he got an earful of the audio evidence, he was straight out of words. Maybe now he gets how off the rails his mom's been. She hit pause on her surprise visits. Thank goodness. I bet he had a chat with her. After that, smooth sailing. We even started pooling cash for a new place. A crib to call our own has always been the goal. Fast forward a bit, after a bunch of builder chats and planning, our dream home is now a reality. Chatting away about how stoked I was for the new pad with my son, out of the blue, my husband goes,
I'm thinking of giving my folks a spare key.
Hold up. What now?
Thought it'd be chill if they dropped by whenever. Mom's kind of turned a new leaf, and wouldn't it be cool if we all got along?
That's a hard no from me.
Huh?
Haven't I spelled out the drama she stir up? Handing them a key ain't happening on my watch.
If that's how you feel, maybe we should just split.
The guy was fuming, face all red, banging on the table. Was he for real? Never seen that side of him. Kinda put the brakes on my warm fuzzies. All right then. He got all smug.
Good. Settled.
But little did he know I was cool with the split, not his crazy key idea. He and his mom were in for quite the surprise. Behind his back, I began shipping stuff over to my folks' place. Got movers to swing by their place earlier than our move-out date to haul everything to the new digs. After getting comfy, I had a deep conversation with my parents. Then Drew calls in, all panicky.
Yo, what's going on? Why's all your and Mark's stuff MIA?
'Cause we're already at the new place.
Wait, what? Our move was next week. Why go rogue on me?
It's a wrap for us.
Huh?
You're the one who brought up the divorce in the first place.
Hold up, by alright you meant...
Yep, I was on board with splitting.
You can't be serious. No way, I'm cool with this.
And hung up. Half an hour later, I hear some fumbling at the door. Peeked out, and sure enough, it's him and Mama Drama. Kept the door on the latch, and he's like,
Why's the key not working?
What did you do to my son's house? As they're losing it, I go, Lucy, you thought this was your son's place? Nah, it's mine. His mom was all frazzled. Lucy, did you miss the memo? I paid for this place with my engineering gig. It's in my name. I decide the locks. Drew, tell me she's messing with us. She is joking, right? This is your place, isn't it? He looked away, all deflated. Once it hit her, she looked wrecked. I told her straight up. Not my problem. Thous.
Tammy, I never signed off on a divorce. Let's hash this out. I promise, no key talk. Can I come in?
Trust is broken, Drew. Let's loop in our lawyers. Hang around and I'm dialing 911. They split real quick. Long story short, my lawyer wrapped up the divorce and got child support locked in for Mark. Rumor has it, Drew and his mom got the boot from their place and are now in some beat-up apartment, pinching pennies with the child support. Karma's a trip. Mark and I are living the dream. I might have my folks move in. Mark's all about it, and I see nothing but good times on the horizon. I'm going to hustle and make sure he gets the best life. Where are we? Are you surprised? This is the house for me and my husband. What? I was completely surprised. To be honest, the house was too luxurious that it didn't suit my in-laws. Well, my in-laws are free to define their own happiness however they want, so I can't really say anything about it. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you two get to enjoy life like this. Yes, I'm really happy.
Now then, Sasha, let's get down to business. I'm counting on you to pay the loan.
Huh? What on earth are you talking about? Because you're paid well, right? Then you can at least pay the loan, right? There's no way I'm going to pay that. Why not? If you thought of us, you would pay it, wouldn't you? No, I'm sorry, but this doesn't make any sense at all. How much is the loan anyways?
It's a 15-year loan, $2,000 per month.
Excuse me? That's even more impossible. This is just unacceptable. What in the world are my parents-in-law thinking? It is unbelievable of them to try to collect that much money from me. My name is Sasha. I'm 30 years old and I work at an international company. When I was a student, I studied hard and was able to go to a prestigious, well-known university. And because of that, I was blessed with a job and was able to work for a major foreign affiliated company. After that, I spent very busy days at work. My work-centered life seemed to suit me very well, and I worked hard and achieved results. Although I was leading a fulfilling life in this way, it was also true that I was feeling somewhat lonely. That is when I met Paul, who later became my husband. My encounter with Paul was a little unusual. We met in an elevator in an office building. I was just on my way to the floor where my client's company was located. Then trouble happened, and the elevator stopped. It was me and Paul who were trapped alone in the elevator. I had never experienced anything like this before, so I panicked a lot. I talked to the button on the elevator to call the rescue team, and they said it would take 30 minutes for them to arrive. Oh, what should I do? I'll be late for my meeting. There's no signal, so I can't call them. Paul, who was in the elevator with me, laughed as I mumbled this.
No, I'm sure you'll be fine. Because if you're heading to the office in this building, everyone must know that the elevator stopped, and no one would blame you for being late because of being stuck in the elevator. You're right. I am the type of person who doesn't feel comfortable unless everything is perfect, and I have a strong feeling that I should not be rude to others. That's why I was surprisingly weak in situations like this. Paul calmly assessed the situation and calmed me down a little, but my anxiety and worry did not completely disappear. Then, perhaps seeing my state of mind, Paul suddenly started talking to me like this. Do you believe in fortune telling?
What? Why are you asking me this all of a sudden? Fortune telling?
For example, if today's fortune was bad and the situation is like now, do you think that the fortune telling was right?
Well, I guess so.
Then, when your fortune is good and something good happens to you, for example, you get a promotion or a business deal, do you think it is because your fortune was good?
No, I don't think so. I think it is the result of my effort and hard work.
That's right. So in the end, things depend on how you look at them. You can see a situation like this as the worst thing you've ever experienced in your life, or you can think of it as a rare experience. So there is no point panicking in situations like this. It is important to decide for yourself what kind of feelings you want to have about the events that happen as they flow by.
I listened to Paul's words, and it went right to my heart. I may have the tendency to see everything in a bad and negative light, but I think it's not easy to stay positive in a situation like this. Then, what about you? Are you enjoying this situation?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm depressed and disappointed.
Huh?
I'm supposed to go to a business meeting today that decides the company's future, but it's in an office in a different building. But my stomach hurt, and I remember that the restrooms in this office building on the way here are clean. I don't like dirty toilets, you know. The first floor restroom was being cleaned, and I couldn't use it, so I jumped on the elevator when it came. I pushed the button for the 5th floor, but it stopped, and that's how I ended up where I am now. My business meeting time has already passed, my stomach is aching, and I'm in the biggest pinch of my life. Come to think of it, I was at the bottom of the fortune-telling list today. Maybe that's why.
He said it so naturally that I couldn't help but laugh. You're in a much more difficult situation than I am, aren't you? And yet, you said what you said just now.
Because you looked quite upset.
That's true. I was wondering why you were so relaxed.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to relax, even for a bit.
Now is the time for you to exercise your positive thinking, isn't it?
No, if I do that and relax myself, my stomach would probably get relaxed too, and that would be a bad thing.
I laughed out loud. I had always pushed myself to work, so someone like him was very new to me. Soon after, the rescue team arrived. Thank you very much. Thanks to you, I didn't panic.
No, but I can't take it anymore, so can I go to the bathroom?
Please do so. I'm sorry for holding you back. Paul then ran to the restroom. This was how I first met him. The second time came much sooner than I thought. It was when I was walking around town after work. I spotted a man selling paintings on the street. I was looking at the paintings lined up, thinking that they were unique but somehow fascinating.
If there are some other sceneries or anything you would like to see, I'll paint them for you.
A man sitting cross-legged in front of me said so, and I looked at him. Oh, you're...
Huh? Did we meet somewhere already before?
See, about 2 weeks ago, we were trapped together in an elevator.
Oh, you're from that time. What are you doing here?
No, that's my line. I was surprised to see you selling your paintings on the street. Do you do this kind of activity as a hobby?
Oh no, I got fired from my last company.
What?
In my case, I went into a building that I shouldn't have gone to use the restroom, so there was no excuse for what I did.
So now you sell paintings?
Yes, I do. I thought it's best to do what I've always wanted to do. I thought it was a good opportunity to do that.
And are you making any money?
Not at all. But that's how it is at first. But I don't want to be recognized as an artist after I die, though.
I was once again attracted by his unconcerned attitude. At the time, I had just made a mistake at work and was feeling down. Then, please give me this $30 painting.
What? Really? Thank you very much.
It was so cute to see Paul so happy like that. After that, I started seeing him and asked him out to dinner. Then I confessed my feelings for him and we started to go out. He had already canceled his lease and was moving from one friend's house to another, so I invited him to my house to live with me. He was a very good cook and did perfect housework. allowing me to concentrate on my work to the best of my ability. Apparently, the fact that he was able to move from one friend's house to another was rather useful because he was doing housework at a housekeeper's level. He was really easy to live with because he usually had a laid-back personality that really helped me relax as well. I didn't want to let him go, so I proposed to him, which I never thought I would do. He was surprised, but when I told him how I felt, he accepted my proposal. We got married and had a happy family, but there was one problem, and that was my husband's parents, Lily and Jason. Both of them didn't bully me or anything, but they were surprisingly greedy. Hey, Sasha, I want this brand bag.
I want this motorcycle.
What? But I don't know what to say. Huh? Because you work for a major international company. Of course, you'd gift your parents these kind of things, right? No. Why should I even gift you these things?
We're the parents. It's a child's duty to gift these things to the parents to show how grateful you are to us.
No, I'm just your son's wife. You also become our child when you get married to our son. Don't be stingy, just buy them. But we gave you gifts for Mother's Day and Father's Day last time, didn't we? I don't care when or how many gifts you give. You can give gifts anytime you want, right? No, my savings are decreasing too, so...
It will be fine. Sasha, you earn enough money anyway.
There were many times when Lily and Jason persistently made requests like this, and I ended up buying them their gifts. I was indeed troubled, but I also wanted to get along with them because they were my husband's parents. So I couldn't really talk to my husband about it. Then one day my parents-in-law did something outrageous. Sasha, I want to show you something today. Huh? What is it?
That's something you'll have to wait and see.
With that, my in-laws took me somewhere in their car. My husband had just gone out with his friends. I was anxious to see where they were taking me. Then we stopped in front of a house in an upscale residential area. Where is this? Are you surprised? This is our new house where Jason and I will live from now on. What? I was surprised. To be honest, it is a very luxurious house that doesn't really suit my parents-in-law. I didn't think Jason and Lily would be able to afford the rent with the money they earn. Wow, you two made a bold purchase, didn't you? Yes, it was. But I'd be so happy to spend my retirement in such a nice house like this.
I can brag about it to all my friends.
Well, my in-laws are free to define their own happiness however they want, so I can't really say anything about it. They have always come to visit us at our apartment, so if they buy a new house for themselves, they may have less chance to come here. That might be a good thing. Then I'd have more time with my own husband. I'm happy for you two. I'm glad you two are going to enjoy your life here. Yeah, we're really happy.
Well then, Sasha, let's get down to business. I'll be counting on you to pay the mortgage.
Excuse me? What on earth are you talking about? Because you're paid well, right? Then you can at least pay us the mortgage, right? No. What are you talking about? There's no way I would pay such a thing. Why not? If you thought of us, you would pay it, don't you? No, this doesn't make any sense at all. How much is the loan anyway?
It's a 15-year loan. $2,000 per month.
What? That's even more impossible. This is just unacceptable. Wait a minute. We'll be in trouble if you don't pay up. There's no way we can afford it. I'm sorry, but that's impossible. Please, give up. Saying that, I ran and left, got a taxi and went home. What in the world were my in-laws thinking about? They were being outrageous, asking me to pay their mortgage like that. I managed to escape at that time, but my in-laws were very persistent. They kept calling me, sending me messages after messages, and even barging into my office. Hey Sasha, just pay the mortgage as soon as possible.
All you have to do is wire me the $2,000.
Even though I refused every single time, my parents-in-law never gave up. They even came to my parents' house and asked me to convince their daughter. They were so insistent that I almost became neurotic. Then my husband seemed to notice that I was having a hard time.
What's wrong? If something's bothering you, you should talk about it to me.
Okay. I must have had enough. I told my husband everything. I was crying as I talked.
I see. I had no idea my mom and dad did that.
I'm sorry. I know they're your parents and I wanted to get close with them, but...
No, I'm the one who's sorry. I didn't realize that at all. I can't believe I put you through that much trouble. Okay, I'll take care of it then.
Huh? Then my husband started making a phone call to somewhere, and he was moving around in a hurry. I was really surprised to find out about the plan my husband had made. I didn't know he was that kind of person. And in no time at all, things were going according to my husband's plan. Incidentally, my in-laws were visiting the company where I worked once again to make me pay their mortgage. Please, let us talk to Sasha. Is this for a business meeting or something? We're her in-laws. We need to talk to her about something very personal. Please, contact her immediately. I'm sorry, but we don't have anyone by the name of Sasha in our company. What? Did she quit the company by any chance? I can't tell you those details because it's personal information.
Let's call Sasha right now.
Oh no, she's not answering.
What the? What about Paul?
I can't get connected to him.
Oh no.
The receptionist at the office told me later that she had talked to my in-laws like that. Jason and Lily were also surprised that other people were living in the house where my husband and I were living, and they came over to my parents' house to ask what was going on. My parents sent them away, saying that they would not tell them where I was, and that they would call the police if they stayed there any longer. Then there were many messages from my in-laws to me, but we continued to ignore them all. Then, a year passed.
Should I contact them now?
With that, my husband replied to my in-laws.
Are you two okay?
Then the message was immediately read, and we got a phone call from them. Paul, where are you right now?
We're in a serious situation here. You guys bought the house all on your own, didn't you? I mean, I won't forgive you for trying to make Sasha pay for your mortgage.
I'm sorry about that, but I'll make it last this time, so please help us out.
What's the situation now?
Oh, after all that, we ended up giving up the house, but the value of the house dropped as soon as we bought it, and we're in about $200,000 debt. We've been borrowing from other consumer lenders to pay the debt.
I'm at the point where I can't borrow any more money, though.
So please, get Sasha here as soon as possible. I mean, you guys don't even have to see us, just please transfer the money.
That's enough. I'm not going to let Sasha get involved with you two anymore. I'm not going to get involved either. I only called you today to tell you that I'm cutting ties with you two.
Oh no!
Wait a minute. If you abandon us, then you two should repent for what you both have done. But it's already too late. See you later.
With that, my husband hung up the phone and erased and blocked all of his parents' contact information. I don't know what happened to my parents-in-law, but they probably became unable to repay their debts and disappeared into the darkness. By the way, my husband and I are currently living abroad to escape from my parents-in-laws. My husband had a close friend living overseas when he was a backpacker, and he contacted his friend and asked him to arrange housing and such. I then left my job and followed my husband. The great thing about my husband was that he also had another friend there who was an excellent manager, and he introduced me to him. He interviewed me remotely, and I was hired right away to the company where he works at. That allowed us to live abroad for a salary not that much different from what I made previously, and now we get to live in a pretty nice house. Furthermore, my husband was selling his paintings on the streets there as well, and he was able to get them placed in a local museum, which allowed him to bring in quite a bit of income from his paintings. He now earns as much as I do, and we are quite well off. And now I have given birth to a child, and our family of 3 is living happily. It's crazy that Jason and Lily were even trying to collect their mortgage from Sasha. They both deserve what they got. By the way, Sasha's husband is an amazing guy. It sounds like Sasha would never get tired of spending every day with a guy like him. I wish Sasha a happy life with her family in the future. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.